Hello, YouTube. I'm back. How are you today? Well, it just keeps coming out. I know. Evidence of dementia. Biden calls Harris president. He said, I want to wish a very happy birthday to our great president. When I know your mom is always watching over you. Biden, you're the president. Kamala Harris is the vice president. Possibly soon to be president because Biden will either die or step down or whatever. And this one, which I'm going to talk about in this video, he calls the war in Ukraine, he says global inflation is caused by the war in Iraq. He means Ukraine. And he says he misspoke, and he fumbled in Florida, and he says he misspoke because Iraq is where his son died. No, his son died at a hospital in Maryland. This is evidence of dementia. It's happened over the past year. This just shows that we need to have term limits. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. I mean, really. Mixing all these things up. Biden says inflation caused by war in Iraq. Says he misspoke because that's where my son died. Joe Biden's late son Beau died of stage 4 cancer in 2015. President Joe Biden misstated during a speech on Tuesday that inflation was caused by the war in Iraq, before correcting himself to say the war in Ukraine. Biden said he misspoke because his son Beau Biden died in Iraq. His son Beau died at a hospital in Maryland. The president was gathering support for the Democratic Party in Hallandale Beach, Florida, on Tuesday afternoon, where he focused on the Inflation Reduction Act. But during the speech, Biden said global inflation is caused due to the war in Iraq, and that his son died there, before correcting himself and referring to the war in Ukraine. Inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of a war in Iraq and the impact on oil and what Russia is doing. Excuse me, the war in Ukraine, Biden said. I think of Iraq because that's where my son died. Biden made a similar statement in Vail, Colorado on just the 12th. I say this as a father of a man who won the Bronze Star, the conspicuous service medal, and lost his life in Iraq. Biden said that day. His son died of cancer. Let's see, where did Beau Biden die? Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Maryland. Biden had said in the 2019 speech, because of exposure to burn pits, in my view, I can't prove it yet. He came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. 18 months he lived, knowing he was going to die. Beau died in 2015 of brain cancer. I actually can play it.
So fat. Brendan, you're not... No change in the quality of it, just change in the price. And they talk about inflation. You know, we're dealing with it for a couple of seconds. Inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of the war in Iraq and the impact on oil and what Russia's doing.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I meant the war in Ukraine. How dumb.
There's going to be more in Ukraine and I think in Iraq because that's where my son died. But the point.
This is evidence of dementia right here. He's done this so many freaking times over the past year. Don't you think he should be correcting himself? I mean, he did correct himself. He said Ukraine. I think that's where my son died. Actually, his son died, as I said, at a hospital in the state of Maryland. You didn't know that? Don't fathers know where their children die if they outlive them? Well, maybe some of them don't. This is evidence of dementia in our president. I mean, like, legit evidence of dementia. He's done this so many times. He's done it so many times over the past year, if not longer. Ever since he became president, basically. And he does it countless amount of times. He calls Kamala Harris the president. He calls Kamala Harris the first lady. He says his son died in Iraq. And he says the war in Ukraine. And he says he mispronounces the war in Ukraine with the American war in Iraq. There needs to be term limits, and I mean it. Term freaking limits. See you in the next one.